Welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast, where your host, Josh Sweeney, will give you, the business leaders, HR professionals, and company culture aficionados, the knowledge you need to take your company culture to the next level.
Hello, my name is Josh Sweeney, and welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast. I'm joined today by our co-host, Annelle Barnett.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on Season 2, which is all about company culture and hiring. Today's topic is the purple unicorn.
I like the purple unicorn.
You like the purple unicorn. So I have to say, purple and unicorns are not typically in my vocabulary. So we're going to have to lean on you to tell us a little bit about what a purple unicorn is.
Okay. So essentially a purple unicorn is the mythical character that a lot of my clients and a lot of companies are trying to hire. So I've seen it 100 times. I'll get a job description with 50 different job skills that this one individual is supposed to have. And then, of course, after we discuss this position, they tell me that this person also needs to only be paid $50,000.
Right.
And so it is a very mythical creature that is purple. It's not just a unicorn, but it's a purple unicorn.
Right.
So it's just an impossible person to find, and it's just a person that doesn't exist. And often companies and my clients are looking for that purple unicorn.
Gotcha. So what do you think, what do you attribute to this search for this mythical being? Because, I hear this in lots of other roles where this person has to have all kinds of skill set in one, somehow not be paid, $180,000 a year and all of these things. Why do you think people are asking for this? What makes that happen?
Well, I think often they're asking for this is the absolute best case scenario. And if you can find this person, then that's incredible. It's typically a smaller company that's asking for this individual because they've got a lot of roles that they need to fill, and they're hoping that this one person can potentially fill it. Part of the challenge with that, though, is no one is going to have 100% of the skills, and so they also aren't going to be specialized in any of those skills because you're being asked for so many of them. There are people that exist that have a little bit of everything, but is that really the right hire?
Yeah, we definitely want to be intentional about what problem we're trying to solve in marketing or in any role. And I know just from the personality and behavior analytics we look at is, people are good at one thing, which makes them, have struggles in another area.
Right, yeah.
And that's actually why we want them. We want them for their strengths. We can mitigate their struggles by adding another team member that has their struggles as a strength, that the other person's.
Right.
And, so yeah, it's a pretty tough situation. But what do you even put as the job title? Is this like marketing generalist 101, or
right.
like how does that normally come out? Are they?
It's often probably listed as a digital marketing manager or coordinator, and those that title is a real title, of course, but it's just adding all of the different parts of marketing into one person, and it's truly not even in the best interest of a company, even if they find this individual, because if someone can do everything, then they're going to get bored really fast. If they're doing everything that they did in a previous role in this new role, then they aren't going to be challenged. They aren't going to be stretched. They aren't going to grow in their position. And in the long term, that's actually going to be negative for the company, because then the company is likely going to need to hire somebody else sooner rather than later, because the person will get bored and want to move on.
Yeah, definitely. Are you seeing that people who have like this huge breadth of knowledge are a lot of times in like a leadership role so that they can manage multiple team members that specialize? Or are they in smaller organizations where the breadth of knowledge is actually just good because of the place that company's at, and they're, that company may not know tactically where they need to focus? Right. Or how does that normally come about?
I guess there are kind of two directions to answer that question. So you do have like a marketing generalist who could be the leader of the organization, who can either outsource or hire individuals who can do all of the different functions that that a company is looking for. So you can have an individual that has has the knowledge of each of the different areas, but for one individual to be able to do those things every day is a whole different story.
Yeah, they can manage it, but they're not going to be able to execute on it.
Exactly.
Or if they can execute on something, they're going to execute on the one or two items that they just have the most experience in, whether it be email marketing or social marketing, or sometimes maybe what's easiest at the time, all kinds of factors like that.
Or you're just going to get a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and there's not going to be any kind of consistency across the board, because they're, on one day they're going to be recording a podcast like we are today, or on, the next day they're doing video work, and the next day they're doing blogs, and the next day it's social. And so you can never really get deep in any of those areas because that individual is so scattered and doing multiple things instead of really focusing on a few high value activities.
Yeah, and we always say that there's a switching cost, right? There's a cost for person to switch from item to item to item each day or each week.
Right.
And sometimes it's, just a moment that they take to have to, shut down all their stuff that they're, their tools they're using for social and put up some other tools for print marketing or, whatever it might be. And then they have to be, decent at each one of those tools. It costs time to switch. And then, if anything else is thrown in there, then it's also learning how to get it done, which is a whole nother bag of worms, I guess.
Yeah. And if they're spread too thin, then they, they'll forget to follow up on the thing that they did last week, or they'll forget to analyze it so that they can improve upon it and make it better. So it's just, I totally, I'm a small business owner myself, so I totally understand why companies want to hire the purple unicorn. I mean, truly, if I could find the purple unicorn, I'd hire them too. But what I'm telling you is that the purple unicorn doesn't exist. So it's better to go ahead and recognize that and realize it and come up with a strategy for, getting all of those different activities filled or fulfilled than it is to actually look for the purple unicorn and waste your time.
Yeah, definitely. So let's take a moment to talk about, the strategy around this. So if you can't find the purple unicorn, you really need to be extremely intentional about what role you need to fill.
Right.
I know in our organization, we spend a lot of time figuring out where we think the biggest ROI is going to come from, let's say in the marketing department, and what role does that person need to specialize in. Right. So when we launched the podcast and our videos and the Company Culture Check series, we said, okay, we need kind of a editor, basically. We need a media expert that can go in and edit videos, edit audio. We don't need them to shoot it. We don't need them to record it. We just need somebody who can edit those and get them out in a way that's helpful. So we hired a full-time video and audio editor. Right. And then the next step from there was, okay, well, now that we have that, what else do we need? Right. And so we had to look and say, well, do we need somebody that is a marketing manager to manage their time? Well, no, it's only one person.
Right,
so
exactly.
We don't need a manager yet.
Right.
And then we said, okay, well, what's the next step? So what we did was we tried to come up with, what do we think the ROI is? Where do we think the majority of our leads are going to come from? So do we need a email marketing automation expert? And we looked at that and we dug into email marketing and said, well, what are all the numbers on email marketing? How much is this going to cost? Is that going to drive leads? And we're like, well, we don't think we're there yet. Right? We don't think email marketing is going in. And to some extent, marketing automation is going to drive the results at our size. So who's next? Right. And we just had to roll down the list and say, what are all the roles that we think we're going to need in the next year or two? Right. And then prioritize those based on our result. And I know in our organization, we have really one mission in marketing, and that's to generate leads that turn into closed-won deals. That is it.
Who doesn't want that?
That is it. I think everybody wants that.
It should be everyone's goal.
But what we find is there's a lot of action for the sake of action.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of marketing people I've worked with they're social, they're engaging, they're fun to talk to, they're very creative. And so you get all of these different campaigns that look beautiful, but then it's like, okay, well, how much did we spend at the end of the day? How much time did it cost, and how many leads did it generate? And then from those leads, how many close-won deals? And when we really started analyzing that, we looked at the marketing we were doing and said, we need to stop spending time over there.
Right.
We need to stop trying to do that. That's not, that's not getting to our target audience.
Right.
And I think that's the struggle with a small business is when you're thinking about marketing as this big global thing, you want the purple unicorn,
right.
but instead you could be extremely tactical.
Yeah.
You could be the sniper instead of,
right.
trying to bring in the whole Marine Corps.
Well, I think from a marketing strategy, especially for a smaller organization, to come up with 3 to 5, really 3 if you can, of your true go-to-market initiatives, the things that you really think are going to make the biggest impact, and really double down on those instead of trying to spread yourself too thin and do a bunch of different tactics. Really focus on a concentrated effort and then hire people that align with those efforts. And then also with a job description or when you're hiring people to somewhat avoid the purple unicorn syndrome, have your specifically written in the job description, these are our absolute skills. These are the absolute things that we have to have, and then have a list of nice to haves. So right. if they happen to have those things, then that's great, but they definitely have to have these at a minimum. And if you indicate that on the actual job description, it really helps the candidate because some of them won't apply because right. they're missing 10 different things that you've listed on the job description, but those really may be insignificant to you. But
you really
they won't
need 3.
Right, exactly. But they won't even apply because they're overwhelmed by what this job description says. But if you have these are the absolutes and these are the nice to haves, then they're more likely to make the investment of their time to submit an application for your position.
Yeah, I really like what you said earlier about doubling down because there's a lot of other challenges when you're spread too thin. Like
right.
for example, given that we're in the software space and we're doing company culture and have this software platform that helps with this, there is a cost to software. And there's a cost to actually leverage the software. Right. And so I had a friend that worked at Pardot years ago before the before like the Salesforce acquisition, all that stuff happened. And, he said, well, marketing automation starts at $1,500 a month. And I said, okay, so what's the time commitment? Right. He goes, if you don't have somebody focusing on it full time, you're not going to get value out of it.
Then you're wasting your $1,500
right.
every month.
You're wasting your $1,500. And after working in some marketing automation systems, it's 100% true. So it's like I need $1,500 a month, and then I need the person that's going to come in at $60,000 a year to make sure that I'm using my $1,500 a month software. And now the economics start to switch, right? The economics start to move around where I say, okay, what does that look like? I need 3 times my revenue off that initiative for me to have this person and this software and these expenses. Right. So I need to be, this initiative of marketing automation alone at those numbers needs to bring in well over $200,000 in revenue. Yeah. That's a fundamentally different conversation around doubling down as opposed to just having a tool that, they kind of broadly use. Right. Yeah.
And frankly, you'll have a hard time finding them for $60,000.
Yeah, exactly.
They're pretty high demand people right now. So,
right, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. So anything else we want to go over around the purple unicorn?
I think that covers it.
Awesome. Well, if you are looking for the purple unicorn, our recommendation is to get a little more tactical. Look at how you can take the generalist role, figure out what is highest and most important on your list, what's going to generate those leads, and go find the exact person with the exact skill sets you need based on your organization and your marketing initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Epic Company Culture Podcast with Josh Sweeney. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. For additional content and transcripts, visit epicculture.co. If you have questions or topics you would like us to address or expand on, tweet us at epicculture1 or email at podcast@epicculture.co.